So we talked to Ohio State on Tuesday ahead of their game against Penn State, second top 5 game on the road in the last 3 weeks. I'm Stephen Means. That's Stefan Krajisnik. And this is my bestie, Andrew. So we don't know if Zen Maholski's going to play. It didn't look great, and I am actually expecting him to not play. So, Stefan, if you had to kind of project here based on the way Ryan Day was talking on Tuesday, what do you think from left to right Ohio State's starting offensive line is on Saturday?
Well, it's kind of confusing because he said there's a chance that Zen Maholski plays, and then he said Zen will start at left tackle if he plays, and then he kind of said, well, we'll still evaluate that. So he kind of went back and forth on that from the first part. I think Ohio State's best combination is going to require moving Donovan Jackson to left tackle and then seeing what you got at left guard. You know, we talked about this right before we came on this video. Luke Montgomery came in at left guard, and Ryan Day kind of just explain that, hey, he's been working at left guard more while Austin Serreville's been working at right guard with Tegra Shabola. If you get a week of Austin getting some reps at left guard again, do you feel more comfortable with him there, or do you go to Luke Montgomery at left guard? So that's maybe more up in the air and kind of determined by, what they like in practice this week. And then from center to right tackle, I don't think that's going to change with Seth McLaughlin, Tegra Shabola, and Josh Fryer. I think it's the best move, even if Zen Maholski is healthy. I can't imagine if he's available, I can't imagine he's 100% anyways. And we saw what 100% Zen Maholski looked like, and it wasn't great against Nebraska. I think with this Penn State defensive front and this Penn State defense as a whole, and Tom Allen, who, as a coordinator does like to get aggressive at times, your best option is having arguably your best offensive lineman move to left tackle. So I think that's what we should see. Whether we see it, I think that just kind of depends on Zen Maholski's health and what he looks like in practice this week. Because it sounds like if he has a strong week of practice and if he's available, they will lean toward putting him in.
So what's the biggest concern with that lineup that Stefan just presented, Andrew? Donovan Jackson at left tackle potentially going up against Abdul Carter, who is very clearly a first-round draft pick. In fact, Chip Kelly used the term Micah Parsons. I called him a term, I know. Micah Parsons, when talking about him, ironically enough, he also wears number 11. And I think part of the reason he said Micah Parsons was because Micah was a linebacker at Penn State. They moved him to edge, and you've seen that now in the NFL where he started at linebacker with the Cowboys, now he's at edge. And they've done the same thing with Abdul Carter here in this situation. Where is the bigger place of concern? Starting left guard for the last 2 years is now your left tackle, or you're now moving in another starting left guard who has at least started 2 games for you this year?
Can I choose both?
Yes, you can.
I think it's the left side of your offensive line. That's the biggest concern this week because, like Steven just said, your left guard is now your left tackle. Your sort of right guard.
Your 6th offensive lineman.
6th offensive lineman. That's the best way to put it. He is now your starting left guard. That's an interesting place to be, and by interesting, I mean scary. And you look at where this team is at, and they went down to their 3rd offensive tackle, and their 4th offensive tackle on this team is clearly their left guard. So that's not a place you want to be. I think confusing might just be the word of the month for Ohio State, for us. It's our job to talk about what we listen to, ask questions, give people our thoughts, give people our news and things like that. Some of this stuff I'm still trying to work through in my head and figure it out because, the Luke Montgomery thing on Saturday, we were very curious as to why he went in the game and not Serreville. Ryan Day said that Luke Montgomery had been getting the practice reps at left guard because Serreville had been at right guard. So, I would assume that Serreville would get more reps at left guard this week and then he would be your left guard, but can Montgomery be your left guard? Who's the other contingency plan? We had talked about this going into that Nebraska game. Okay, well, Maholski's your left tackle. Well, if you lose Maholski or Fryer, what do you do? And Ryan Day said this in the postgame press conference, we would have, we were ready for this if we had to do it. We would have moved Donovan Jackson out. Now I don't know what your contingency plan is right now. So it's that left side of the offensive line, because if the left side of the offensive line does not hold up, now I am very confused as to what the answer even is. You might not have had confidence in Zen Maholski going into the Nebraska game, but at least you knew the answer. At least you knew what that was going to be. I don't know what happens if you lose another tackle or if Donovan Jackson just can't hack it at left tackle. I don't know where you go from there.
I think my biggest concern is I don't know what this impacts more between the run game and the pass game. They haven't been able to run the ball for 2 weeks now. They hadn't tried to throw the ball now last game. They threw it 16 times. That shouldn't happen again. You can't throw the ball to 16 times when you have these receivers. But just trying to figure out where you mitigate the problem at. Can Chip Kelly, as we've talked about, be creative enough to find a way to scheme around these offensive line issues so they can run the ball? Or do they just start chucking it around the yard? I know where I stand and what I would like for them to do. I think everybody who has ever watched a video with me in it or listened to a podcast knows where I stand about this. I think they should just chuck it around the yard. I think Will Howard has shown you some things. But you were kind of asking questions along this as well, Ryan Day, this idea of how has the offensive line impacted Will Howard and how he's going about things. He doesn't have to be Superman. We talked about on Monday maybe he has to be Superman adjacent now, where he's going to have to make some stuff happen to make up for those things. How much does Will Howard running come into play? How much can that offset the run game issues? And then how much more do we see Ohio State throw it to try to offset the fact that their offensive line is clearly compromised, and they're going against the wrong team to have a compromised offensive line against. We'll continue to talk about this on Buckeye Talk, so go find that wherever you listen to podcasts and get to text 614-350-3315 for Steven, for Stefan, and the bestie Andrew. Talk to you later.